All right, let's go ahead and introduce our first player here. Spawning at the top left, he's the blue Protoss player playing for Dragon Phoenix Gaming. It is ZEST.
And his opponent opening up quite aggressively here in game number 1, playing for Team NV. It is the Red Terran player, MARU.
And of course, MARU doing what MARU does. Now, normally you do not see this against Protoss. This feels like more of a TVZ build opening with the 2 racks. But I don't know, maybe this could work just because it's not really done versus Protoss. Who knows?
Yeah, this is definitely going to be very interesting. Of course, a clear advantage is that the Protoss is not going to be able to scout out where the barracks are. It's only going to be able to scout out, hey, there is no barracks at home. Which, of course, is a very good indicator already, so...
Yeah, this is going to prompt ZEST to throw down his cybernetic core before the Nexus here. And, oh, actually even throwing down a second gateway.
As well as a Zealot. I do like this response. The Zealot is, you know, not really good at killing Marines, but it will be good at zoning them out, as well as zoning out the SCVs.
Alright, here we go. It looks like he is going to start the bunker down below here at the Natural.
Okay, Zealot immediately goes for one of the other SCVs, so not the one that's building. It is going to be a Stalker follow-up, as well as a Shield Battery, so this is definitely a commitment from both players. SCVs are going to move up the ramp with one of the Marines, 2 of the Marines. But it looks like that first Stalker will pop out in time to begin fighting.
Oh, look at here. ZEST also building a pylon at the front side ramp of MARU, making sure that Zealot can... Trying to make sure that Zealot can get up. But, oh, nice block. So not only can ZEST not build a shield battery, but it's going to waste some time. Or delay some time of the Zealot here.
I just want to note that across the map, there are 3 Marines in a bunker, and there was one SCV that was sort of... MARU was trying to play it cute with some bunker micro, but he actually played himself and popped out the SCV just in time for the Stalkers to hit it, so that was kind of unfortunate. But yeah, this Probe and the Zealot on MARU's side of the map have been dealing quite some damage, apparently, for... SCV's going down, and the Probe does get out alive with 4 health to its name.
And this has turned out to be a very, very interesting, crazy opening to this game. And this is game 1, by the way, guys. But these 3 Stalkers marching this way might be a little bit dangerous. Oh, that Probe was so crucial in detecting that Widow Mine. But if that Widow Mine did not pop out, I mean, 3 Stalkers versus a couple of Marines, that would have been a little bit scary here for MARU. But he does take down, or he does plot down that Widow Mine and also that bunker, so he should be safe. And I don't know about you, TeaDragon, but who do you think, after all that, who do you think came out here on top?
The fact that MARU just started his command center while ZEST's Nexus is not only on location, because it's a Nexus, but also it's pretty much almost done. I will give the opening round to ZEST. I'm not too sure though, right? I mean, it's just so close, and like you said, that if that fight had gone differently, if that Probe stayed alive, then it would have been a very different opener, because of course 3 Stalkers against 4 Marines, it definitely should go in favor of the Stalkers. And you know, MARU at that point had literally nothing else in his main. So yeah, I don't know, it's tough to say, but we do see that Blink is already 1/3 done. So yeah, you know what, I'm just gonna commit and say that I think ZEST did come out on top in the early game.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, the resources lost tab does show a much more favorable trade here for ZEST, especially taking down 4 SCVs in total versus only the 1 probe that was lost. Of course, that 1 probe that was lost was to check up the ramp. But here we go. Looks like oh no, loses that medevac there.
MARU getting a little bit greedy. That was not the first time that he actually saw those stalkers too. He did poke in with the medevac earlier and was shooed away by those same 3 stalkers. So that was quite greedy, and he got punished for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And now ZEST with Blink finishing up, gonna go ahead and march his way across the map. He has multiple ways to get high ground vision, not only with the observer, but also with these hallucinated phoenixes and I guess a fake war prism, which is gonna draw the army of MARU towards the natural while he blinks up into the main base.
Yeah, I do actually like that move a lot. Now, of course, there is a Raven out on the map, so it is going to be able to spot, if it is within range, it is going to be able to spot, hey, you are not a real war prism. Get on out of here. So these Blink Stalkers are going to blink up onto the high ground, but I don't think it's quite enough to deal with all of these Marines, especially now that the added DPS of the Raven's turret did come into play, and that tank is actually going to come up onto the high ground as well. So ZEST is going to deal a little bit more damage and then blink on out of there. So ZEST will actually, oh my gosh, when did he get a 3rd? His 3rd base is already up and running, guys. This is, I mean, if this is not an economic lead, I don't know what is.
Yeah, he's got like a 15 worker lead as well. So ZEST just not only from the early start, but also dwindling the Marine count with this blink play. He has set himself up to be in a great position to take a game 1, but as we all know, in the game of StarCraft, there are things such as comebacks. And one of these players in which you would imagine that can come back from this deficit would be somebody by the likes of MARU. So even though, you know, ZEST can feel very, very comfortable with where he's at, I wouldn't say he should take his foot off the pedal. This is not anyone like a Bronze League player. This guy is a 4-time GSL champion, and there's a reason for it. So I would caution ZEST to not, not get overconfident.
Oh, definitely. And considering ZEST's history, his particular playstyle, right? Like it, cautioning him of all people is probably for the best. Not, knocking him or anything. I just think that I'm in agreement with you on this particular matchup. Now, it will be up to him to extend the lead, and then it will be up to MARU to not eat those storms and take more of a deficit. Oh my gosh, those were some excellent, excellent storms, thinning out that bio, which before this seemed to be kind of menacing, but now not so much.
Yeah, that is quite unfortunate. I mean, you walk outside your door and you're greeted with thunderstorms. I mean, that is not how you want to be greeted.
Yeah, definitely.
Alright, looks like ZEST is going to go ahead and try to get on top of this army. Another Great Storm taking out a lot of these Widow Mines here.
Yeah, I do like this move a lot. Now, those High Templars need to be careful that they don't... Okay, so they will be morphed in after they are done with their energy. That is a lot of Archons, or not a lot of Archons, but a lot of Stalkers, as well as an Immortal in the back backing it up. These Zealots do have charge as well, so the Natural is being sieged. Those are some pretty nice war prisons, preventing the SCVs from being pulled off the line offensively. So this is getting a little bit dicey for MARU, but it does look like he will hold for now, with that tank on the high ground being able to deal consistent damage.
Yeah, and I love what ZEST did there. He did not overextend there, because that's the one opening in which he could have given MARU a chance to come back into this game. He just kind of retreated back, get some additional weapons, establish his 4th base, and go for another attack here. With recharge High Templar energy to storm for additional storms. So ZEST just playing it very patiently and very safe.
Safe indeed. Now, at the same time, he also is trying to extend his economic lead. This is a little bit awkward. So the purpose of the Protoss army being here is to sort of keep tabs on the Terran force, which was caught out a little bit on the map. But These are some excellent force fields, and actually the positioning did work out because that was an excellent storm going down on the bio that was caught out on the low ground. Oh my gosh.
Look at this. I think some additional charge dot reinforcements. This might be a game where ZEST just kind of do the slow kill on MARU. I mean, he's still on 2 bases as we speak, guys. 4 bases to 2. Ooh. Oh, nice storm drop.
Yeah, like you said, it's 4 bases against 2 with no third being started for MARU as well. And if there is any definition of what a contain in StarCraft 2 looks like, this is definitely it. Now, MARU is looking to break on out of here, but these Archons are going to come back and, you know, say to the Marauders, nope, you need to go back home. That is a pretty decent number of Liberators, however, so ZEST, again, you know, playing super safe, making sure that he continues to take decent trades and doesn't take anything, you know, too bad. Now, MARU getting very, very aggressive. It looks like he's just going to push on through the middle of the map and try to initiate a base race. But of course, ZEST army is going to come back as well to try to successfully defend.
Gonna force a recall, but doesn't quite get there in time. So the Nexus will fall down. Now that isn't the worst thing. I mean, he does have an extra Nexus, and I think MARU does knows that he's just far too behind, and will GG out ZEST with a dominant Game 1 victory. Alright, game number 2 here on 2000 Atmospheres, spawning at the bottom left. Give it up for the red Terran player, rocking that happy star, but not happy that he's down 0-1. He is MARU.
And spawning here in the top right corner of the map, it is MARU's opponent. Playing as the blue Protoss for Dragon Phoenix Gaming, it is ZEST.
Alright, so game number 1, MARU took a little bit of a risk. Wasn't quite able to really reap the benefit of that risk. But to be fair, that 2 racks, you know, proxy is not typically my favorite opening from a Terran versus a Protoss. Like, I would prefer against a Zerg player more so. But against a Protoss, usually I don't like that. And hopefully MARU doesn't open with that same opening. I mean, already it is not going to be because we don't see any SCV out in the field or any racks. The racks is being built at the ramp area. But really interested to see how MARU bounced back and what kind of build he's going to open up against ZEST.
Yeah, and ZEST was, you know, playing it quite well in my opinion, making sure that he wasn't, you know, just diving on top of MARU, because in that situation as the Protoss, as the Terran, as the defensive Terran, you want your enemy to jump on top of you and you know, make sure that your units are all sieged up and making sure that they're dealing their damage and, you know, taking a good fight. ZEST not really letting that happen, and eventually MARU did decide to pull the trigger and said, hey, I have a pretty sizable army of bio, so I'm just going to go across the map and try to make sure I kill his base. But of course, you know, he did take down 1 Nexus, but there were 3 others waiting for him, so he did tap out after seeing the 4th Nexus.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of knew like he was just way too behind, and it would have been difficult hill to climb up. But this is a fresh new game here. This is of course a different map, and we do see a Stargate opening coming from ZEST. Now, MARU, he's going to open up with 1-1-1 into Hellion, and you know, Stargate is actually, I mean, assuming that he opens up with Oracle or Phoenixes, probably would have preferred Phoenixes versus Hellion, but Oracles can also do some, or can have some nice defense against Hellion drops. But looks like Oracle will be his first choice.
Very interesting. So it looks like it's just going to be 2 Hellions, and then the follow-up on the factory for MARU is just going to be a couple of Widow Mine setting up for a, I believe this is a Widow Mine drop, so very harass-based opener. But yeah, if Zest's Oracle Micro is on point, it doesn't look like he will be able to get any sort of damage in. So the Adepts are going to be enough. They're very active Adepts, by the way, you know, just making sure that they patrol their section of the map. So not going to let the Hellions in, I don't think.
Yeah, he did a really nice job blocking off the main base where the Reapers will come up here. You know, to prevent any Reaper harass, but he also kind of left himself open for Hellion run-bys in the natural because of that. And but he did make up those make it up by making a lot of Adepts actually to defend and guard that natural base. But in the meantime, we do see this Oracle going doing some nice decent damage here at the natural, getting 3 SCV kills, and doesn't really lose the Oracle as well. So a nice little start coming out of ZEST.
That's right. Now we do see these Phoenixes are already out on the map, going to be able to take care of that medevac given a little bit of time and energy. But oh, a pretty decent, very decent mine hits, and now the Hellions are coming in as well. So regardless of the Widow Mines dying and the Hellions dying, that is almost a full mineral line's worth of probes that just went down. 14 probes have lost their lives in that engagement where there was a full Protoss army to defend, or not army, but you know, sort of forced to defend. We saw the 4 Phoenixes that were trying to lift the Widow Mines, not able to lift 2 of them in time, and I mean, that is not a good start for ZEST.
Yeah, and it's so unfortunate because he had all the necessary tools to shut that down. All he needed to do was lift up those Widow Mines with the Phoenixes instead of chasing that the medevac, and he would have been absolutely fine. But a little bit of a blunder there will cost him a lot of probes.
Yeah, very unfortunate. Now, it looks like ZEST is going to try to make up for that by sending in his Adepts into the natural mineral line, seeing if he can pick off, you know, a couple of SMBs here and there. So he does pick off 3, and oh, very nice. The 2 Adepts do get out of there with their lives. So they will live to fight another day, and it looks like it's going to be a Twilight Robo follow-up after this sort of Phoenix-based opener. All very standard, but yeah, I mean, imagine if ZEST had another 16 probes right now, right? He would be up a full base worth on MARU, but now he's just about even. And as the Protoss, you want to be a little bit ahead in the worker count.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? You might actually start losing some more probes as there is a sneaky another Widow Mine drop here coming at the left top side. So we'll keep an eye out on that, but in the meantime, these Phoenixes trying to get as much pickoffs as much as possible. But will he react in time against this Widow Mine drop here?
Oh, ZEST. Oh, that single Widow Mine is going to fire. It gets 3 probes, not bad. Now, the second Widow Mine is still in that medevac, headed towards the natural. Will ZEST be... Yep, ZEST is on top of it, has sentries to tickle away at the medevac as well as Adepts to make sure. Oh, but that Widow Mine is going to... Oh, excellent micro from both players, making sure that...
Oh, no!
Oh, never mind! Oh! Another 3 probes, making for a total of 6 for the cost of 2 Widow Mines. That is... I mean, ZEST, my guy, I felt you on trying to get your workers back to work, right? Like, we all gotta hustle, we all gotta make that money, but too soon. Too soon. Another Widow Mine in the third.
Oh my god, this is...
Come on! No way! Another 6 probes by itself. Just walked on in and took care of 6 probes by itself. Oh man.
Oh man, what a boss Widow Mine. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So far we have 28 probes being killed throughout this whole game, and boy, ZEST just not dealing with these Widow Mine drops as well as possible. Or as well as we expect ZEST to deal with them, but... Right.
Now, granted, he does have that very active air army, which has been dealing pretty decent damage itself, you know, picking off SCVs here and there, and actually, potentially... Oh, that was not an ideal engagement. He's... Okay, never mind. So, whatever I said about the air army, ignore it, because the air army just got cut in half. It tried to go for that medevac, but was not quite able to. Now, the Oracle staying alive is very important, able to spot the bio. So now it's going to be up to ZEST to successfully defend this Terran bio army. But can he do it? I mean, he's been suffering so many economic losses here and there, and he's actually down on supply. And again, as the Protoss, you need to be ahead of the Terran in this matchup.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough hold here for ZEST. There's a lot of Widow Mines to help deal with the rest of the air army, and I don't know. This is a nice force field though. It does cut off some of these units, but okay, nice hold. Not bad.
But the Widow Mine dropped in the back, killing off another 11 probes. I mean, ZEST, my guy, he put down a cannon. He knew this was coming, but, you know, again, right, he had the tools to defend it, just not able to pull the probes off the line in time. Now, the Phoenixes are going to lift up these Widow Mines, and that is key for breaking this position from the bio. So he is going to be able to successfully defend for now, but, I mean, this is... You know, I imagine this is just the start of a series of very difficult holds because, again, the economic losses have been just too great this game.
Yeah, I mean, if I say that's probably a probable if ZEST does lose, he's gonna have to look back and understand that those Widow Mines were it. Those were the reasons why he lost this game, and he's gonna have to definitely clean it up in the third game. Because it's going to be a tied series if MARU does conclude this match with a win. And here we go, a big huge drop here into the main base. Not the most efficient drop. Doesn't really get too much done. And if you kind of give some few battle wins to ZEST, that might start changing the complexion of this game right now. But I would say MARU's still sitting comfortable in a great position.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. When I first saw that quad drop, I thought, that is not a move that I would make. But, of course, it was in order to pull ZEST out of position, making sure that the Colossi and the other key units were not in position to deal with the harass at the third base. Of course, there was a shield battery and overcharge was popped, so the drop to the northwest side of the map did not really do much, but you know, decent positioning. And at the same time, MARU has such a supply lead that he can sort of afford these sorts of inefficient trades, if you will. So I am not too concerned about it, but I do want to watch out for that DT blink. I love it. DT Shrine is finished. Blink is being researched, and you know, if there is ever such thing as a Hail Mary for the Protoss, I think DTs are it.
Yeah, you know, usually the old saying is "when behind Dark Shrine." Nowadays it seems more like you can go Dark Shrine or Disruptors, but yeah, Blink DTs are definitely a nuisance for Terran players if they don't really set up the proper defense and detection for it. And we do see at least some turrets here in each base. I mean, they were initially thrown down because of the Phoenixes and the Orko, and it will, you know, in this later stages, will help out against those Blink DTs. But they're only one in each mineral line, so if the DTs just blink on top of it, take it out, then they can maybe take out the planetary.
Yeah, definitely. Now, +2 weapons for Bio has actually finished, so it looks like MARU is gonna try to begin a huge double-pronged attack. So, of course, we do see the Stalkers to the north trying to deal with the Bio force that is already there, consisting of, I believe that is 3 Ghosts and a couple of Widow Mines, but that is a huge army to the south, so it is going to supplement MARU, just trying to go and, you know, take this win, because, I mean, it's really his game to lose right now, and one of ZEST's armies can deal with only one of MARU's armies. But of course, ZEST only has 1 and MARU has 2. And here we go. The second army is going to try to stem forward into the third base. Only Zealots are available to sort of tank damage, but that is not going to be enough.
Alright, looks like swinging back is ZEST's army, but like you mentioned, he still has a group of army at the right side, so ZEST gotta split his some of his units to that side at least the Blink Stalkers. And looks like ZEST actually might go for a base trade. No, it looks like he's still looking for that army at the top left side.
Oh, I think you were right. It looks like the Colossi and the Zealots are actually just going to move on forward. He's going to hallucinate a bunch more Colossi, and Scan immediately goes down. So that was energy that could have been used for force fields, essentially wasted. Some great EMPs as well, but these Zealots they're melting. The Disruptors get off some pretty nice hits. DTs are going to start moving forward, but not really enough to do anything. Disruptors as well, getting off some big hits earlier, but that is the entire Protoss army getting surrounded, and GG is called. ZEST taps out.
All right, we are here for game number 3 on Romanticide. This is it. This is going to be the last game to determine who will win this series. Here, spawning at the top left, playing for Dragon Phoenix Gaming, hailing from Korea, it is ZEST.
And his opponent spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of the map is the Red Terran player playing for Team NV. It is MARU.
Alright, so all of a sudden we see ourselves in a 1-1 series, but look at here, we have ourselves a proxy Rax, but it's not the usual proxy Rax, it's actually a fake proxy Rax, because he's building it back at home to kind of scare ZEST into overreacting, and I don't expect ZEST to scout this anytime soon.
Yeah, and this is a very unique proxy location because some Protoss who are, really trying hard to scout for a fake proxy as well as a real proxy, they might check the natural location. And since this barracks is not at the natural, it could actually succeed in faking out ZEST.
Yeah, now there is an important thing to note that MARU did go for 2 gas instead of 1 gas. So even though he's proxying, it kind of sets up ZEST to go for a to go for the cybernetic before the Nexus, and that should allow him to tech up faster and theoretically handle against what MARU is going for a bit easier. But obviously it does come down to execution, whether they can defend, because we saw in the last game, like, ZEST had the tools to defend. Oh, I believe that was actually the first game. Or no, actually last game. Yeah, last game.
Yeah.
ZEST had the tools to counter the Widowmine drops, but wasn't able to successfully execute his defense. So that costed him the game, and we'll see if this is a deja vu of last game, or will ZEST shape up and deal with the Widowmine drops a bit better this time around.
That's right. Only time will tell here on match point for both of our players, as we do see a Widowmine coming out from the factory as the first unit. Now, a bit of a different opener from our blue Protoss, as we do see a Robo rather than that Stargate that we did see last game. So, is this considered a safer opening, Snoopy? I'm not too sure how that works in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, usually when the Protoss open up with robotics facility is a bit of a more safer opening, and it gives him a bit more, ground units, whether he's making the Immortal or the Colossus or Disruptors, and then also give him faster detection with the well, I guess I wouldn't say faster, because Oracles can scout the opponent a bit quicker than the Observer can, but either way, it does give at least detection for the Widowmine drop if MARU decides to go for a armory behind it, and it makes the Widowmine, of course, invisible to the Protoss.
Right now, we do see 2 observers, one already out on the map and a second one being produced, as well as the robotics bay being planted down. So, looks like we're going to go heavy into this ground tech. Funnily enough, we do see one of the pylons for ZEST being placed on the low ground outside of his natural. So, I don't usually see that kind of positioning, and I do understand, like, it's probably, for some sort of, not scouting, but preemptive sort of alert. you know, that way he knows when the Terran is right outside his door. But I don't know, it just seems a little bit funny to me. Now, we do see this first observer is already across the map. It's gonna, it looks like, get a scout off and see that there is bio, supported by a tank. And he will see that the starport has a tech lab, which is not researching. So that is, we know that it's producing a Raven, but ZEST, of course, does not.
Yeah, but at the very least, he does have a way better start compared to the last game in terms of dealing with the Widow Mine. This game around, as you can see, no significant probe losses to these Widow Mines. He's got his dirt at a nice time. He's got his tech rolling really well, actually, because remember, he defended all this with only 2 gateways. Didn't even make that dirt gateway. And he was able to get the robotics facility off the bat, get that robotics bay immediately afterwards. So his economy and his tech is rolling quite smoothly, and this bodes well for for ZEST, as MARU was delayed in terms of his opening. Remember, he kind of delayed his CC in favor of the faster tech, and so all does spell well for ZEST here.
Yeah, definitely. Now, we were just discussing how the Robo facility might play as a sort of safer opening, but if we're talking about safe, I mean, just look at MARU, right? We do see that first Raven, as well as all of that bio and a bunch of tanks, so he's definitely not looking to sort of, you know, die here in the early game or try to risk anything by attacking. So that is definitely more safe than ZEST, and it looks like it will pay off, as you said, because ZEST's third base is already up and running. His gases, he's almost got 6 gases. His 6th is right about to finish. He's got Colossi already out on the field. His extended thermal lance upgrade is just about to finish. And yeah, I'm definitely with you. I think that ZEST is sort of taking that lead, and he is going to look to extend it later on.
Yeah, he just finished scouting with his hallucinated phoenixes, and I think he is sitting very, very happy at this point. Seeing no dirt base from the Terran, seeing very few units. Not a scary force. Only 3 tanks. Well, I guess the 4th one just popped out, but not a lot of backup behind it in terms of Marina Marauders. And yeah, I think ZEST is going to go ahead and go for a timing soon. I mean, his charge is about to finish. His +1 weapons is about to finish. 4 gateways is about to finish. And I wouldn't be surprised if he made a Warp Prism and just like flew across the map, warping the rest of his reinforcement, and just go for one huge attack. Or he can just kind of just sit back, get that 4th base, get the Templar Archive as he is right now, and just add some additional splash damage units to his army.
Yep, more splash is really not a bad thing for Protoss in this matchup. It's sort of interesting how this game is playing out, because, you know, usually you typically think of Terran as the one who's initiating, the one who's harassing, and yet here in this game we are considering the possibility of the Protoss going out for an attack. So I think that that's really cool how, you know, each game is so different from the last. Now, like you said earlier, we do see that 4th Nexus being planted down, so it does look like ZEST is going to play a bit safer, right? Looking to extend his lead rather than risk it by attacking into MARU. And of course, MARU, very well known for his defense, so that is probably a wise decision from ZEST.
Yeah, for sure. Storm is about halfway done, as well as Blink. So getting all the upgrades for ZEST. Surprisingly though, MARU has gotten the upgrade lead here for the time being. But I'm sure with the Chrono Boost on those forges, that he should be able to catch back up.
Looks like ZEST is going to work on these rocks outside of his 4th, just to make sure that his zealots, when they come out, have a bit more surface area to really engage the bio army if they do come across the map.
Yeah, and look at this. ZEST is like completely gaining all these vision at the left side. A pylon here, an observer there. I mean, he is just making sure he does not die to any drops of any sort. And also looks like he is ready to pounce on the Terran as his upgrades are about to finish. His DT shrine is about to I guess like 75% done or so. I wouldn't be surprised if he researched Blink DT and then go for a kind of a run by backdoor with the DTs. But to be honest, I think he just couldn't just outright win with his main force, right?
I'm not too sure because we did see that 5th Nexus go down quite quickly, and at that point Protoss was not at 180 supply. Protoss was at 135 supply. So I think now is a better time. Of course, we do see the massive warpins of charge lots, you know, trying to set up for run bys. But I think now, you know, well, I don't know. It's quite risky walking into any sort of tank line if you're any player, really. But I just think that, you know, if you didn't go for a 5th Nexus, then you might have a lot more available for charge lots. And that might have been better if you are setting up for an engagement. But definitely try not to do both, right? So anyways, who am I to judge? We do see the Warp Prism setting up along with this main base. We did see a storm going down earlier just to sort of test the waters and see what kind of damage could be done on the bio that was existing. Now, this charge lot run by is going to bust through the first supply depot, taking out a tank, but it will be forced back quite quickly as there is a bunker as well as the reinforcements from the south side.
Okay, this is the point where I am going to... I wouldn't say I'm worried right now, but I'm starting to get worried as MARU is kind of slowly setting up himself into that kind of a turtley Terran playstyle where, you know, the Protoss just can't break through because he's got all these tanks, he's got all these watchtowers, right? And so it makes it hard for the Protoss to break through. Maybe he can find an opening here, but it looks like some EMP will scare him back. At the same time, though, the DT blink here. Oh, will he get it? No, he does not get it.
Yeah, look at that. The SCV repair coming in so clutch. A nice EMP on the main army. Hitting, actually, is that all? All but one of those High Templar, I believe. No, actually, that's a sentry with the energy. So, yes, it did hit all of the High Templar. That is unfortunate for ZEST. And like you said, this is MARU's comfort zone. This is where he shines, you know. Just sort of settling into that rhythm of like, okay, we are only going to engage on my terms, period. And on my terms, you do not win. And this is, like you said, this is where it gets quite dicey for our Protoss, who, by the way, is now quite down on supply, not quite able to spend the money as efficiently as he would like.
Yeah, I mean, so many Protosses at this stage just really have a difficult time dealing with what, you know, MARU has set up. And they just kind of continuously make additional ground units, and I feel like that's not what you should do. I feel like you should immediately tech into air, because right now MARU is just playing very so defensive. He's not, you know, looking to attack the Protoss, so you might as well take the opportunity to just, you know, just mass expand and get into higher tech a lot quicker, because this ground force that ZEST has is not going to break through MARU's, and you know, it's better to just go for the air tech and play the long game.
Yeah, and I am totally with you. I think that, you know, it is nice to have extra gateways, like, for example, just now, ZEST did put down something like 10 additional gateways, and, you know, that's great. It's a mineral dump, and it also ensures flexibility later on in the game. However, like you said, Zealots are not going to break MARU right now. They are not going to break through planetaries, tanks, and liberators. You need a higher tech army. So it's funny how ZEST is kind of facing the same problem that a lot of lower level Zergs might face, as, you know, going up against a Turtle Terran. They also face the same problem where it's like, I really want to break the Terran, but I just don't have the army for it.
Yeah, and looks like ZEST starting. Finally teching to air, getting those additional Stargates and the fleet beacon. And yeah, looks like we might actually have ourselves a long game here, as it doesn't seem like both players are willing to budge yet. These DTs though, these Blink DTs hasn't quite gotten much damage done. We did see the one earlier attack trying to get that planetary, but with the planetary and then also with the scan, or I think he had the turret, but was able to repair it and save the planetary. So these DTs really haven't got anything done, which is pretty sad, but at the same time relieving for the Terran player, I would suppose.
Yeah, now speaking of DTs, we do see four fast War Prisms darting towards the natural and actually bypassing the natural. They're gonna go straight for the main. And this is, you know, kind of like when Zergs, they put a bunch of Dropper Lords together and, you know, they try to bait out the ones that are not. Oh my god, what a massive warping of Stalkers prevented by the Ravens, which actually disable both of the remaining War Prisms, and that was a risky move that did not pay off. Now, of course, the refund on the Stalkers is there, but I mean, that is so many DTs, and that is a lot of gas that he lost. And if you look at the banks, Protoss's gas bank is not that much higher than the Terrans, and that just goes to show you how the DTs have not been paying off. DTs, of course, are very expensive in gas, just like their High Templar counterparts, but they, in this game, they have not been, you know, really paying themselves off, in my opinion. They have not been trading efficiently enough.
Yeah, it just has been pretty useless throughout this game. But at the very least, the carriers are still... Oh, actually, no, he changed it to Tempest, I believe. Yeah, he changed it to Tempest. And you know, the thing about Tempest is they're really hard to make them work. Like, Tempest, they attack slow. Right?
Yeah.
They don't really catch up. I mean, they're meant to kill the battlecruiser, but because battlecruiser has the teleport, it's kind of hard. And also with the Yamato cannon as well, it's kind of hard to make Tempest work unless you have like a bunch of shield batteries or cannons underneath them, but or some ground force, significant ground force. But I don't know. It's gonna get really tough for ZEST to play from this point forward with these Tempest. Okay, now he's adding the carriers, which is a good thing.
Right. But all of that, and I mean, 25 probes went down. So what happened was there was a ghost in the north side at the center north base of the Protoss, and it put down a nuke, and it just finished its animation and started the nuke animation right when it was killed off by the Stalkers with Observer backup. And then, of course, we did have that huge bio run by to the southern base, which took care of a lot of... Actually, funnily enough, we still see that these shield batteries and these photon cannons are still unpowered, so we are going to see the pylons coming back up finally. But, I mean, that was a large amount of probes that went down. So, like you said, it is going to be a sort of uphill battle for the Protoss, but you know, it is made a little bit better by the fact that there's just such a huge bank. Now, we do see a fake triple drop coming into the main, and I think at this point it's to fake out Protoss, but I mean, fake outs are usually better when... Oh, and the Stalkers, there is so much going on right now. The Stalkers actually blinked out of the way of the EMP and killed the Ghost, so they actually saved their own shields. But anyways, the medevacs, I think that they wanted to be traded out for Vikings, because that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a remax on Vikings. Yeah.
I mean, when you get to this later stages, medevac not as important, as you're not going to have as much of these bio units to heal up. You want to trade them out for Vikings or Liberators or more tanks or and such. And
right.
You know, because MARU is at max supply, you gotta free up some supply there, and the medevacs are probably the best thing to trade out.
And speaking of freeing up supply, we do see the SCVs being sacrificed for the greater good of the Terran Dominion. Now, like you said about that maxing out, I thought it was really interesting how for a long period of there was a maybe 2-minute time window in this game quite recently that ZEST was sitting on below 140 supply. And I really was kind of anxious about that until I realized, oh no, he's just waiting for his Stargaze to finish. That way he can pump out a bunch of carriers, as well as the mothership, which is being chronoed out at the same time. So it does make sense, and ZEST sort of carved out that window for himself earlier in the game, making sure that MARU was too scared and too pressured to stay at home to really make a move outside, giving him the room to develop that air army. Now, of course, speaking of air armies, we do see that there is a huge number of... How many Vikings is that? Oh my gosh.
That is 20 Vikings versus 8 carriers. And yeah, just 8 carriers.
Yeah, no, this is going to be an interesting fight. We do see a defensive nuke going down, making sure that the air army does finally back off. But this is going to be a very, very interesting late game.
I do like what MARU is doing though. He is just planting a lot of sensor tower and turrets. He's kind of doing the slow push that makes it very difficult for ZEST to break through out of this contain. And you know, he's already touching on 2 of the bases of the Protoss, so it's going to make it much difficult for ZEST to take control and maintain these 2 bases. And if he's not careful, I mean, MARU is going to be able to just mine off of them, and he's going to be the one that is going to be banking more resources. Although, as I say that, it's at this point, ZEST does hold the higher bank right now.
Okay, so disruptors are going to actually get the connection on the one ghost that was trying to nuke, but there is that tank just, you know, beginning the siege by itself, just taking care of that assimilator, making sure that no more probes can do good, honest work by shuttling that Vespene gas back and forth, which is actually going to be quite important as these players start to run out of... sorry, those probes sacrificing themselves was a little bit distracting. But anyways, gas is going to be important the later into the game that we go. So looks like Protoss is going to try to maneuver down the center of the map. But, Snoopy, what do you think of this Protoss army? I feel like it's quite Stalker heavy, but at the same time, I can't really think of another proper unit to serve that anti-air purpose. So it looks a little bit awkward to me, but I'm not sure.
I agree. I don't think Stalker is the greatest at this stage. I would love to kind of see him trade out these Stalkers for maybe Archons or something else that is more efficient at the later stages. But he tries to do this mothership play, which I don't know, but I feel like he should have gone all the way to the bottom before he recalled. Most of the MARU's army was kind of in position to defend already, so that was not what I would love to see. Because the thing about the mothership recall play is that you kind of take your opponent off a position, draw him in, and then draw him to one side of the map, and then recall all the way to the other side. And but he didn't really quite execute it to that scenario. So he does break through out of the contain, so that's a good thing. But I definitely think he could have executed that better, and he does lose a lot of carries during that engagement as well.
Right, I was just about to say, all of a sudden his army, ZEST's army, is basically reset to a tier 0, not tier, tier 0 is like probes, tier 1, excuse me, Stalker only, not Stalker only, but mainly Stalker army, and it was good for clearing up so much of the Turtle Terran's setup, all of those missile turrets, and I believe there was a planetary in the mix as well, doing good work, just trying to make sure that that area of the map is clear once again. But like you said, the main fighting force when it comes down to the final main engagement, it's going to come down to the Sky Protoss army, and that army is almost non-existent. We did see that the mothership was killed almost immediately after it popped the recall. So another one is halfway done, but motherships notoriously, they take forever to build, as well as carriers. Carriers are also very, very chonky air units, so...
Oh man, I'm quite nervous for ZEST. I don't think he should have warped in all that Stalkers. I know he was probably trying to remax quickly, but I mean, it wasn't like MARU was gonna have like a really quick remax potential. So I would have loved to see him just like stay patient, invest those resources into something else besides these Stalkers.
Right.
It just feels like ZEST is kind of going to that classic mindset of the Protoss against Turtle style Terrans, where it just usually never ever works out. I have rarely ever seen this work out, where the Protoss relies heavily on gateway units during this late of the game.
No, I'm totally in agreement with you. Oh my gosh, and this is a huge reason why, right? Like, we just saw the biggest EMPs I have ever witnessed in my life, and all of a sudden those Stalkers are just dead weight. Like, they can't do anything against that kind of army. And all of a sudden, this free nuke is going to land. Those Liberators are not going to be, easy to engage into. And earlier, we actually did see the Planetary get pretty low on health, and I just want to note that a bunch of mules came in clutch to save that Planetary. So even something as simple as that, MARU is not going to let his opponent get that from him. Now, this Protoss army is very, very deep in enemy territory. It is going to try to angle for a position, but that is not a lot of carriers. That is not a lot of high-tech army. We just see one Colossus, and I believe 7 carriers are out on the map at the moment, but that's it. And, like you said, it's that sort of trap in the mindset of like, oh, look, I can remax super quickly. Let me just take care of this really quick. Now, speaking of motherships, that recall was a little bit better, I think. Recalled right on top of the Planetary when there was absolutely nothing on it and took care of it quite easily.
Yeah, much better. I agree. Although I still even would have preferred to see him draw his opponent even more south, but at the very least, he does draw him out of position enough to take out that Planetary.
Oh man, and it looks like these Liberators are on the hunt. The Vikings are on the hunt as well, looking for those carriers, trying to see whatever they can pick off. And they will move very, very deep into enemy territory. Oh my gosh, look at the supply. ZEST is struggling to keep his supply up. Now, he just did go from 112-ish supply up to about 150 by, queuing up 6 carriers as well as some disruptors. But that army takes notoriously long to remax on. And that's sort of why, like you mentioned, a lot of Protoss fall into that trap. Because when it comes to gateway units, the remax, if there is a remax, it's basically instantaneous. Whereas a high-tech army, a meaningfully, sort of substantive army with that good staying power, it takes, in some ways, it takes too long to remax on. So these Stalkers are going to move forward into a tank line, and they're going to see the Planetary and just dip on out of there. But this is getting really dicey for our Protoss, as they only have 1,000 gas in the bank.
Yeah, and it seems like I feel like ZEST should start taking or retaking some of these bases that he just lost. He is taking the one down at the bottom left, but there are still the open ones at the 12 o'clock, as well as the one next to it. Looks like he will finally at least take that one in the center. But ZEST trying to still be active with these Stalkers, and really, that's the best thing for him, because the Stalker in the 1-to-1 up head fight is not going to do too well. So he might as well try to take advantage of these Blink Stalkers and be active and try to snipe and poke anything out in the open. But yeah, ZEST is definitely going to need to improve his army composition, and it looks like he will do so with at least adding in some Void Rays. And I don't know. Void Rays, I feel like I mean, they could be pretty good against battle cruisers, but I don't know.
Yeah, this is an interesting call, to say the least, right? Void Rays, they do a lot of damage. I will grant them that, but will they do enough before all of these Vikings and this massive Liberators shred them to pieces? I'm not too sure about that.
Yeah, the thing about Void Rays is that they clump up, so maybe a Raven can do an anti-armor missile, or if he adds in some Widow Mines, he can just go underneath the Void Rays or something. But maybe it would have probably been better to add in Disruptors, because at least the Disruptors can target the Ghosts, because Ghosts are going to be able to EMP the Ghosts, or not that Ghost, the High Templar, so adding in some additional Disruptors can be good. But here we go. We have a huge attack here at the bottom side, but also at the top right side. We're going to have a little bit of ourselves, a little bit of a training of bases.
Not in the traditional sense where, people just attack each other relentlessly, but that was literally a base trade.
Yeah.
One person took one base and the other took another.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, the one to the south was taken out by not one, not 2 or 3, but 4 nukes. That was pretty crazy on my screen. I don't know about you, Snoopy, but I just saw this massive red text on the left-hand side of my screen where it just said nuke, 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 and it was what? What's going on?
Darn it, I missed it. I apologize for that, but yeah, a lot of action happening throughout the whole map. So trying to keep active on where the army movement is, but yeah, this is heading to the 30-minute mark here, and I still have no particular, I guess, prediction as to who might come out on top. I do like, you know, MARU's army a little bit more, but I mean, we've seen ZEST micro, you know, really well in certain situations like this, and can come out on top. So let's see if he can micro his way through here.
Oh, these Vikings did get a little bit ahead and were able to pick off, I believe, 1 or 2 carriers. So good pickup there, taking advantage of the fact that the carriers were, or the air army was, you know, not exactly clumped up, but they were sort of forming a natural concave around one of the Terran buildings. I believe it was a command center. And so because of that, some of the carriers were caught out of position and their interceptors as well. So pretty well played by MARU, but now it's looking to get even deeper into a stalemate. Now look at the gas count. Look at the banks. Terran is way ahead economically in terms of just how much money they have. Whereas ZEST, I mean, if ZEST loses this carrier Void Ray army, that's it for his high tech. That is it. All he can really afford to remax on will be zealots, and that's, you know, not really what you want at this stage in the game.
Yeah, and once more, ZEST remaxed on Stalkers once more, and I just don't really. I think that is a huge mistake there. He could have warped in some other type of units that will be able to kind of better handle the Terran army in the head-to-head matchup, or head-to-head battle rather. So yeah, this is not looking good for ZEST. His bank is completely depleted, I guess. And MARU, he's still mining off. Look at all of the meals being dropped down at the top right.
Oh my gosh, that is gonna suck that base drive real quick. Alright, so we see the Bio army once again, MARU being relentless in denying this base, and actually he's gonna siege right on top of it. It looks like he might potentially try to establish his own base here, but regardless, he's been doing a very good job of denying ZEST's north side bases for a very long time. Actually gonna get a second Nexus, yep, okay, it will get the second Nexus as well, and ZEST does not have the left-hand southern base as well, so ZEST is definitely starving for both minerals and gas at this point in time. And all that MARU has to do is make sure that he trades, not even necessarily efficiently, but like, if he ever decides to just trade, period, he will, in theory, come out on top.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it doesn't come to a point where he can't. I mean, I would like to see him like trade a bit, but not all out trade, because you know we could get to a scenario where the Terran player is not going to be able to replenish his army
forces quick enough,
because the Protoss army can get on top of the production building as he's knocking at the door right now. So you got to be careful not to throw his entire army in a huge single battle. Maybe, you know, pick a small battle, but then retreat if it gets a little dicey.
Alright, so we see a bunch of Liberators sieging up, making sure that the ground forces, the Disruptors and the Stalkers, cannot engage on the high ground. Now, they actually are going to move forward, but that was a solid group of EMPs. That was some quick reaction time by MARU. Seeing that the Stalkers were already, you know, as soon as they blinked up, he made sure that they did not have any shields. So that was very well played by MARU, forcing back the main Protoss army.
We do see a little bit of a Zealot attack here while the battle was commencing. ZEST was able to take out some of these turrets, but looks like ZEST is going to go ahead and knock at the door at the natural, forcing the rest of the air army of MARU to come back. But oh my goodness, these Liberators, it's going to be absolutely impossible for ZEST to go in there with his ground force.
Yeah, definitely. Now, can I just say that I think this game is really special, not just because of how long this game has been going on. We're almost at 35 minutes in, but also at the fact that if we look at the worker count, look at that. I mean, just look at the worker count. That means that both players are essentially maxed on almost pure army. These are some of the biggest armies ever seen in, you know, professional gameplay. Like, or they're reaching the limit of what we can see in professional gameplay. So this is really, really interesting to watch. We see so many how many is that? That's 45 Vikings against only 10 corruptors. Not corruptors, carriers, excuse me. They both start with a C. But anyways, the carriers are gonna dip down to the south side of the map, trying to see if they can take pot shots at the production. But here we go. They are gonna try to jump on top of the main army. These Void Rays are cleaning up the Liberators, and actually they are slicing through pretty quickly. But the main Viking clump is gonna move backwards and just sort of kite the main Protoss force.
Yeah, the thing is, ZEST does not have any minerals mining, so all these interceptors that he loses, he can't really replenish them immediately. He's got under about 700. Okay, they just dropped down all the way to 200. Yeah, these interceptors are pretty much all he has right now. So, I mean, that's still a crazy air army. But I think MARU can like slowly trade them out. Looks like the nuke will fall down.
Those poor Liberators, you know, they popped out. They said, "Hey, I'm ready to fight." And what is their first assignment? Stay in the blast zone of a nuclear bomb and take some damage. So that was a little bit unfortunate. But yes, so like you said, this Protoss army is still quite fearsome. But as long as MARU plays it patiently, makes sure that he still keeps himself in a sustainable position. And what I mean by sustainable is economically sustainable. So is he mining, you know, as well as army production. So of course that Protoss army did clear up the entire main base, therefore taking out the bulk of the Terran production facilities. So as long as Terran is able to replenish his production facilities and he has some way to, you know, keep producing army. And like you said, if he trades carefully, not too carefully, but just carefully enough, in theory, he should be able to come out on top. But I do appreciate that MARU is playing this very patiently, because it could go very wrong very quickly.
Yeah, and I do absolutely love what he is doing right now. He is just throwing down a bunch of turrets. Right now, the interceptors of ZEST is very limited because he's low on the mineral count. So as long as he just built all these turrets, I mean, he should be fine. I mean, especially since his production buildings are going to take a little bit of time to get back up and running. So he's not going to be able to make some additional armies for a period of time. So just throw, you know, have a lot of minerals, just throw down a bunch of turrets. They do very well against what ZEST has.
Oh yeah, definitely. A turret forest is exactly what you need against this kind of army. And I just want to note that earlier there was a very, very nice snipe that went off on a full energy Templar. Poor Templar was not loaded up into the warp prisms, so it did lose its life in a very sort of ungraceful way. But anyways, so we do see the Void Rays and the carriers moving down south once again, making sure that there is no Terran presence to the south side of the map. And I'm not sure. Vikings, they do move kind of quickly since they're air units, but if they are caught out of position, that could be potentially dangerous for MARU. I'm not too sure.
Well, he is going to go ahead and go back here, but unfortunately for him, there's really not much here to attack, as it's pretty much empty here. Maybe a few supply depot, but not really going to be that important. And looks like that will give away his positioning, as MARU will send back all his Vikings here.
Yeah, now we do see finally ZEST is officially, I want to say, at this point, at 39 minutes and 4 seconds, he is officially at a non-existent bank. You know, he's got barely any minerals, he's got barely any gas, and these Vikings are shredding through these carriers. They are one-shotting each air unit that the Protoss has, and that is, I mean, just chef's kiss moment for the Terrans. You know, like, that is just a beautiful thing if you're the Terran, and an absolutely heartbreaking moment if you are the Protoss.
Yeah, for sure. And it seems like the writing's on the wall, but I guess it's going to try to make a game out of it still. But with, I think, let's see here. 39 Vikings versus 7 carriers and 8 Void Rays. Yeah, that that is not where you want to be as the Protoss, and looks like MARU is going to go ahead and shut this base down. He knows that, you know, this is the one of the few last remaining bases out there, and he will be able to take it down, no problem.
Oh man, look at those EMPs, even hitting a majority of the Void Rays as well. So it looks like the carriers and the Void Rays are going to try to come in to engage, and I think this is ZEST's last hurrah. He does get some excellent storms. Oh no. Look at all those Vikings, but I don't think it's enough, you know? I mean, just too many Vikings. GG is called. MARU takes the series.